Hello children, welcome back to another session. Today we will discuss GMAIN 2020 September 2nd shift 2 physics paper. Let us begin. The first question is, an ideal gas in a closed container is slowly heated. As its temperature increases, which of the following statements are true? With the increase in the temperature slowly, what happened to the mean free path, what happens to the mean collision time, and also the combination, and there are several options. Let us see first the equation for mean free path. Everyone has learned mean free path. Lambda is equal to, the formula is well known, kBt divided by root 2 pi p d square. Okay, but the popular formula may be the other one. Lambda is equal to 1 by root 2 pi n d square, and also we are using the equation p is equal to n kBt, where n is the number density in the sense number of molecules per unit volume. Small letter n stands for the number density. So n is substituted as p by kBt. So you say lambda as kBt by root 2 pi p d square, where T is the absolute temperature, kB is the Boltzmann constant, d is the diameter of the molecule, p is the pressure. Okay, here it is given that the temperature is slowly increased, but the problem is that the volume of the container is a constant because it is closed. It's clearly mentioned that the container is closed. As the container is closed, volume is a constant. That means for a given volume, we know pressure of ideal gas is directly proportional to temperature, and this is nothing but the Gay-Lussac's law. So P by T or T by P is a constant. That is, T by P is a constant. That is why lambda is a constant. So lambda is a constant. So mean free path remains unchanged. That is why the answer will have option C. So C is a correct one, but C is in B and C and D. Let us see which is the correct one. Again, for mean collision time. The collision time tau is equal to, average collision time is equal to mean free path divided by the average speed. We know average speed of ideal gas molecules is proportional to square root of temperature, and mean free path is a constant. That implies tau proportional to 1 by square root of T. That is why when temperature increases slightly, the collision average time decreases. That means mean collision time between molecules decreases. That is why we should opt B also. Then B and C both are true. Then we go for the answer, third option. The first one is a very nice one, asked from first year topic, kinetic theory of gases from NCERT text. Okay, the question is NCERT based. Every questions are based on NCERT only. I will comment on each of the questions. Now we move to the next one, second one. Second one is asked from second year topic, that is regarding capacitance and potential, second chapter in second year part 2. Second year part 1, first part. It appears in first part. A 10 microfarad capacitor is fully charged to a potential difference of 50 volt after removing the DC source, that means the battery. Now that fully charged capacitor is connected to another capacitor, but that capacitor is uncharged. Okay, connected to an uncharged capacitor in parallel. It is not given what is the capacity of the second uncharged capacitor, but that is asked. Capacitance of the second capacitor is asked. The combination potential becomes 20 volt. Okay, based on the charge conservation, the common potential, formula for common potential that we have arrived is V common is equal to V common potential after sharing of charges. Several times we have done similar problems. So common potential is equal to C1 V1 plus C2 V2 divided by C1 plus C2. The two capacitors are connected like this, whose positives are together and negatives are together, and this formula is used for this connection. Okay, here C1 V1 is the initial charge on first one, C2 V2 is the initial charge on second one. After redistribution of charges, the potential of both becomes same. That common potential is total charge divided by total capacity. Total capacity in the sense sum C1 plus C2, because these two appeared parallel. So common potential formula is arrived on the basis of conservation of charge. And here common potential is given as 20 volt. The first one capacity is 10 microfarad. The potential is 50. Second one is uncharged. Uncharged capacitor has potential 0. Uncharged capacitor means V2 equal to 0. That data is itself given in question paper. Then this would be 0 divided by C1 plus C2, and C1 we know that is 10 microfarad plus C2. Okay, you just cross multiply and get the answer 15 microfarad. So not doing that part, concentrating on the basic concepts, okay, which most of the students lack. Then the answer is 15 microfarad. You do these simple calculations at home. Okay, then what is the basic principle employed here? Conservation of charge. Using conservation of electric charge, we have derived the equation for common potential. And also I will tell something more about this. The sharing of electric charges between these two capacitors results in reduction of some energy of the system, and that lost energy is appeared as heat. Okay, the first shift, September first shift paper also contained similar one, very similar one. There the lost energy was asked. Okay, we have done that. You can also watch that video, that is also there, September 2nd shift 1. Okay, therefore that energy lost is half C1 C2 by C1 plus C2 into V1 minus V2 the whole square. You can watch that video and you can compare these two. Okay, now the answer is 15 microfarad. The next one is third. A wire carrying current I is bent in this particular shape, where the two segments mentioned here are at right angles. The sides of rectangles are of lengths A and B. Then the magnitude and direction of the magnetic moment of the loop. We know magnetic moment of a closed loop carrying current M is equal to current into area. Okay, then the direction of magnetic dipole moment is given by right hand rule. The vertical segment, the vertical rectangular segment carries a current in this sense as I show my fingers. So the thumb will show the direction of the magnetic dipole moment, so that the magnetic dipole moment of the vertical segment, that is EFAD, vertical segment, is shown towards right, that means along y axis. So the magnetic dipole moment of this one is along y axis, this one is along y axis. At the same time, you go for the horizontal rectangular part. For that, the current is along this sense, so the direction of the thumb is upward, that is the magnetic moment of the horizontal portion is along upward, that means along z axis. So the second one is along z axis and this one is along z axis, and these two magnetic moments are shown like this. This is M1, this is M2. As these two rectangles are of same area and also they carry same current, the current into area remains same. That is why both this M1 and M2 must be numerically equal. That means M1 is equal to M2. M1 is equal to M2. Magnitude of M1 is equal to magnitude of M2, but their directions are different. Their directions are different. They are at right angles. The two are at right angles. Then what is the resultant dipole moment of this system? This is just now how you hold a book, okay, half by folding the two leaves of the book mutually perpendicular. Okay, then the angle between the planes of that sheets 90 degree. So moments are also at an angle 90 degree. That means the angle between moments is equal to angle between that planes. If angle between that planes is 60 degree, it is only folded 60 degree, then the angle between their moments also will be 60 degree. So angle between the moments of similar situations will come like this. Angle between moments is the angle between that planes. Here angle between that planes is 90 degree. So the resultant moment, you can use Pythagoras theorem. So the resultant will be root 2 times m. So the resultant moment is equal to root 2 times m. Okay, that is equal to root 2 times m is equal to current into area. Current is given as I, area is area of either segment, either rectangular segment is AB. That is root 2 times IAB must be the answer. Root 2 times IAB. Root 2 times IAB, we have two options, first and fourth. But what should be the direction in which the moment, resultant dipole moment appears? Resultant dipole moment will be along this direction, and that will be in YZ plane, and that is in YZ plane, right? So YZ plane, it must be J cap plus K cap, and the resultant moment should bisect. As it bisects, this angle should be 45. That is why the unit vector C, J cap and K cap, and their magnitudes are also relevant. That is J by root 2 plus K by root 2. Okay, then answer we stick on to the first option. So third one answer, first option. Now we move to the fourth one. Particle moving 5 times as faster as an electron. The ratio of de Broglie wavelengths from modern physics, NCERT chapter, dual nature. Wavelength of particle to that of electron, ratio of de Broglie wavelength of that particle to electron is mentioned. Mass of the particle is close to. It's a very conventional one, asked in a different way. Okay, they have just changed the subject. We know the formula for de Broglie wavelength. De Broglie wavelength, lambda is equal to h by mv, where v is the speed, then lambda, h is a constant. So we need the ratio lambda particle by lambda electron. Lambda particle by lambda electron is equal to m electron divided by m particle into v electron divided by v particle. Okay, that is, this ratio lambda particle by lambda electron is mentioned as 1.878 into 10 power minus 4 equal to me by mp. Me is 9.1 into 10 power minus 31 mass of electron divided by mass of that particle, and that is asked, into velocity of that particle is 5 times as faster. That means velocity of that particle is 5 times faster than that of electron. So this ratio must be 1 by 5, and mass of that particle can be estimated by this simple calculation, and you would get the answer second option. So answer, right answer is the second option. You may be knowing the correct answer, but the method we are sticking on. Okay. Then next one, fifth one. two uniform circular disks are rotating independently in same direction. Okay, about one axis, two disks are rotating like this about their common axis. So two disks are rotating about a common axis together along same direction. Moment of inertia of first disk and angular speed of first disk given similarly for second disk. So data is mentioned there. Moment of inertia and angular speed of each of that disks rotating given. Now what happens? Let us see the next part. At some instant, they get stuck together and start rotating as a single system about their common axis with some angular speed. That means they stick together. When they stick together, they move together. When they stick together, you can tell that this is a collision, very familiar collision, which is called perfectly inelastic collision, in which both the colliding bodies stick together and move together after the collision is over. So this is a collision. Here there is a collision. Which collision? Perfectly inelastic collision. Then the kinetic energy of the combined system, kinetic energy of the combination is what? Okay, the kinetic energy of the combination is the rotational kinetic energy of the combination. The total kinetic energy of the combination is equal to rotational kinetic energy is half into moment of inertia into omega square. Okay, but the combination has moment of inertia, sum of moment of inertias of both. That means half I1 plus I2. Moment of inertia of a system about same axis can be added. That is why I use the additivity property of moment of inertia, that half I1 plus I2 is the total moment of inertia into omega square. Omega is the combined angular speed of the combination. What is the omega for combination? Omega for combination, omega common velocity is equal to I1 omega 1 plus I2 omega 2. That may be plus or minus. Here they were rotating in same direction. They are rotating in the same independently in same direction. That means the sign in between should be plus. If they were in the opposite direction, the sign in between should have been minus. Here it is plus, divided by I1 plus I2. So let us substitute into I1 omega 1 plus I2 omega 2 whole square divided by I1 plus I2 the whole square. So you can easily remember this formula, that half I omega common square. So the total kinetic energy is equal to half I1 plus I2 into omega common square. I1 plus I2, 1 you can cancel there, that is half into I1 omega 1 plus I2 omega 2. I1 omega 1, 0.1 into 10 is 1, then 0.2 into 5 is again 1, 1 plus 1 2, 2 square is 4 divided by I1 plus I2 is divided by I1 plus I2. What is I1 plus I2? 0.1 plus 0.2, that is 0.3. So you get 2 divided by 0.3, that is 20 by 3 joule. So the answer is fourth option. The answer is the fourth option, 20 by 3 joule. Hope that you are clear with this idea. Chapter Rotational Dynamics, first year topic. It's very important. Next one, question number 6. A charge Q is distributed over two concentric conducting thin spherical shells. Radii small r and capital R. Capital R is greater than small r. Also diagram is there. Surface charge densities on the two cells are same. The electric potential at the common center. Both are having same surface charge density. That is very important. If the surface charge densities are equal, what is formula for surface charge density? Surface charge density sigma is equal to charge divided by surface area 4 pi r square. Here the surface charge densities are equal, that means Q 1 by R square is equal to Q2 divided by R square. Let us call the inner one has a charge Q1, outer one has a charge Q2, as the total charge is capital Q. That means the total charge capital Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2, because it is mentioned that a charge Q is distributed over two concentric. That means depending upon their capacities, they will contain different amount of charges. So we don't know how much charges each will contain, and a law which governs the amount of charge present on each of these, that is mentioned by the constancy of surface charge densities. As surface charge densities is constant, the charges present will be based on this law, that Q1 by R square equal to Q2 by R square. Okay, that means Q directly proportional to R square. That means you can divide the total amount of charge into the ratio square of radius. You can divide the ratio square into the square of radius. Okay, that means charge is to be divided into the square of radius. So what will be Q1? Q1 is equal to the total charge supplied to both, which is capital Q, into Q1 equal to capital Q multiplied by R square divided by R square plus R square. Similarly, Q2 is equal to total charge into what fraction of total charge? That is R square by R square plus R square. Don't confuse. As Q varies directly as its own radius square, you have to write like this. So this is the immediate method to write the expressions for Q1 and Q2 without any mathematical solutions. Okay, so you will reduce the step here like this. Now, what is the common potential? Common potential V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 divided by R plus Q2 divided by capital R. Common potential is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q1 by R plus 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 Q2 by R. 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 is common factor. That is why 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 into Q1 and Q2 you can substitute. Q1 will contain a capital Q. Q2 also contains capital Q. So capital Q is also taken outside. So Q by 4 pi epsilon 0 into, inside the bracket you get R square. Inside the bracket you get R square plus R square divided by, here one more R comes here, one more R comes, due to which that R gets cancelled. One more R comes in the denominator. This small letter R and this capital letter R cancels one small letter R and one capital letter R from the numerator. That means R plus R divided by R square plus R square. Okay, hope that the idea is clear. This small letter R will cancel. Here R square was there, but small letter R in the denominator will get cancelled. That means R plus R by R square plus R square into Q. Then the option fourth one is the right answer. So the concept used is conservation of surface charge densities. It is given as a condition, that's all. It may not be always like this. The sharing of the charges happened on the basis of equivalence of surface charge densities of each. That's all. Next one is seventh one. When the temperature of the metal wire is increased from 0 degree to 10 degree, the length increases by 0.02%. Percentage change in mass density is close to. We know it is a metallic wire. Metallic wire. Okay, when temperature increases, its length increases, its area increases, hence its volume increases. When temperature increases, all these linear dimensions increases. Length increases, so area increases, so volume increases, but mass remains a constant. Here, percentage change in its mass density. Percentage change in its mass density. Density varies because volume varies. Density and volume appears to be inversely proportional, right? density rho is equal to mass by volume. Mass remains a constant. That is why delta V by V is equal to minus delta rho by rho, right? That means any fractional increase in the density will correspond to a fractional decrease in the volume. Okay, then the volume of that wire is nothing but the wire is cylindrical, volume of the cylinder pi r square L. Then delta V by V, okay, delta V by V is equal to numerically, that is equal to delta rho by rho. I'm not changing, I'm using the sign. Okay, one if increases, the other subsequently decreases. That's all. That is equal to 2 times delta R by R plus delta L by L. But every linear dimensions are changing equally due to the isotropic nature of this wire. It's not given it is isotropic, but we are assuming that the wire is isotropic. That is why delta L by L must be equal to delta R by R, because the wire has got isotropic properties. All linear dimensions increase equally. That is why this will be 3 delta L by L. That implies 3 times 0.02, so 0.06. Then answer is 0.06. Okay. The next one is the 8th one. If momentum area time, very conventional, the morning session also was asked with similar one. Every year we used to see this for G-mains. Momentum area and time, we have to get energy. Okay, let us use the same method. Energy E is equal to K. Then you go for the order mentioned in options. In the morning session, it was not given in that order. Okay, then students may have some confusions while doing and picking out the right answer. That is why I am telling to practice regularly like this. Okay, now K into P raised to X, A raised to Y, and T raised to Z. Now dimensions. Energy ml square T raised to minus 2. K has no dimensions. Momentum m mass into velocity mlt minus 1 to the power x. Area L square to the power y. Time T to the power Z. Let us equate dimensions of mass. That is 1 here 1 is equal to here x. So x must be 1. x1 means power of p must be 1. Power of p1, there are two options. So if there was only one option, we would have got the answer. Now first and fourth one, the chances are there. Let us go for another one, better one. Third one, time. Let us take the powers of time. Here minus 2 equals minus x plus z. Okay, and x value we know, that is minus 2 equals minus x value is 1 plus z, that is z is equal to minus 2 plus 1, that is z is equal to minus 1. So z is equal to minus 1 means answer is first one. So first one is the correct answer. This is the method, and you practice, you can do it quickly within 1 minute. Now 9. In hydrogen atom, the electron makes transition from n plus 1th level to nth level, and also it is given that n is much greater than 1. The frequency of radiation emitted is proportional to. We know the transitions can be shown like this. Let this be nth level and this be n plus 1th level, and the transition occurs like this. Okay, here energy is En, here energy is En plus 1. Okay, then what is the energy released? That is En plus 1 minus En, and En plus 1 minus En, that means delta E, that is equal to h nu equal to, formula we know, minus 13.6 energy in nth orbit is equal to minus 13.6 divided by n square for hydrogen atom. Hydrogen atom Z is equal to 1. So, En is equal to minus 13.6 by n square electron volt. This much is the electron volt. Anyway, we only need the proportionality, never mind the units. Then h nu is equal to 13.6 multiplied by 1 by higher minus lower. Higher will be 1 by n plus 1 whole square, but it will carry a minus sign. Minus of minus will become plus. So 1 by n square will come here. 1 by n plus 1 whole square. Okay. Students, do you have any confusions? I just reversed this and I eliminated the minus sign appearing here. Okay, you try to write, you will get it. That is nu proportional to, h is Planck's constant, is a constant, nu proportional to, we can write the proportionality, that is n square taking the square, n square, a plus b whole square in the denominator, n square plus 2n plus 1 minus n square divided by n square into n square plus 2n plus 1. Okay, I took the LCM and distributed after that. Nu proportional to this n square cancel, so I get 2n plus 1 divided by n square into n square plus 2n plus 1. Okay. Now, still I wanted to get the relation between nu and n. One condition, important condition I have initially underlined, similar conditions are to be stressed at the beginning when you read the question. Otherwise, you will hover around without getting the answer. N is much greater than 1. N is much greater than 1. For that, we have to eliminate some of the n values, otherwise we won't get this. So that approximation is to be done here. For that, what I am doing, nu proportional, I can take this n outside. When I take n outside the numerator, you get n into 2 plus 1 by n, right? I am taking n from the numerator outside, so it can be written n 2 plus 1 by n. Here, I am taking n square outside from the bracket. Already n square is there. Still more n square is taken out, that becomes n raised to 4. But n square only taken from inside, so this n square by n square, 1, 2 by n plus 1 by n square. Now everything is ready. N is much greater than 1. As n is much greater than 1, 1 by n square neglected, 2 by n neglected, okay, 1 by n neglected. That means frequency proportional to n by n raised to 4 implies 1 by n cube. So frequency proportional 1 by n cube, then we get the answer, first option. Okay, this also asked previously, it is a previous question. Okay, many previous questions have been asked this year. Next one is the 10th one. A heat engine involved with exchange of heat is a very good one. Exchange of heat. See, the signs are so relevant. This sign is plus, this sign is minus, this sign again plus, the other sign is minus. Heat exchange only mentioned, can be plus or minus. Sign conventions of heat and work, very important, that is mentioned in NCERT text. During one cycle, achieving an efficiency of 50%, value of Q. We know the efficiency eta is equal to total work. That means the net work, total work divided by what? Divided by what? Heat added. Total work divided by heat added. What we have learned? Equation eta is equal to W by Q1. What is Q1? Q1 is the heat added to the system. Q1 is the heat added to the system. You have learned it. Working substance, then source at higher temperature, sink at lower temperature, then these three lines like this and few arrow marks. What is the direction of arrow mark? This is the heat Q1 extracted from the hot reservoir at temperature T1 Kelvin. and this is the heat Q2 which is rejected to the cold surroundings by the heat engine, by the working substance, and this is the useful work performed. And efficiency eta is equal to output by input. Output is W, input is Q1. It is not Q1, it is not Q2, it is not Q1 plus Q2, not Q1 minus Q2, but it is Q1 alone. What is Q1? Q1 is the heat added. Q1 implies heat added to system. Added to system. That means positive. Heat exchange positive means that is the heat added to the system. That means here what is the heat added? Q1, that is equal to W by Q1. What is Q1 here? Heat added. That means you have to add the positive works alone. What are the positive works? This is positive, this is also positive, so you add the positive works. That means 1950 plus 125. Let us add 2040. Q1 2040. Okay. Now what is the total work W? Total work is the algebraic sum of works. Plus and minus you have to see. So add all that. That means 2040 already we have added. From that you subtract 40 and Q. Okay. That means 2000 minus Q. Then efficiency eta is given as 50%, that means 1 by 2. That is final. You have to do the final step. I will write this much. 1 by 2 is equal to 2000 minus Q divided by 2040. Okay, that implies you get Q as 980. You may try. I have done it, so I know the answer. You try. 980 joule. So 10th one answer is box. Now go to the question 11th one. In the following digital circuit, what will be the output of Z when inputs are? We can use the direct method, trial and error method here. 1 and 0. When I give 1 here and 0 here, 1 here, 0 here, what happens to the output? 1 appears here, that 1 here, this one appears here also. Okay, this 0 appears here, the same 0 appears here also. This is the simplest method in getting it, even though it may take little time. Other method is there, faster method is used by Boolean expression that many students may not be following that. It's the easiest one, but may take little time. 1 and 0, it is AND plus NOT, that is NAND. 1 and 0 becomes 0, but NOT, it becomes 1. So here 1, here also 1. Here OR gate 1 or 0, that means 1 plus 0, that is 1. 1 appears here. And this gate is a AND gate, and 1 and 1, 1 into 1, that is 1. Now it is NOR gate, OR plus NOT. 1 and 1, it becomes 1, then NOT 0. Okay, then 0 comes as the output. 0 comes as, but two options are there in third one and fourth one. Then let us do the next one, then we will get the answer. Okay, whether 3 or 4 is the correct, because second one 0 and 1 are there. Okay, only 2 steps you have to do. It is quite fast that you are doing. I am explaining, that is why I am taking this much of time. I am using another color. Now we go for this 0, 0. Let this be 0, this also 0. When this is 0, here appears 0. This is 0, here appears 0. Then 0, 0, all zeros. 0, 0, and becomes 0, not becomes 1. Here 0, 0, or becomes 0. Here 0, here also 1. 0, 1, and becomes 0. 1, 0, or becomes 1, becomes 0. So answer is third one. Answer is the third one. You need not go for the next one. This is the method. Another method is there. Is not required here. Not relevant here. Next one is the 12th one. The displacement time graph of a particle executing simple harmonic motion is given by this sketch. Which of the following statements true for this motion? The force is 0 at t equal to 3t by 4. See, force is mass into acceleration. So wherever acceleration is 0, there force is 0. Where acceleration 0 means velocity is maximum constant. Okay, velocity is maximum, acceleration is 0. Where velocity is maximum, displacement time graph has slope as velocity. So where slope is maximum at t by 4, 3t by 4, 5t by 4. So at, listen, t by 4, 3t by 4 and 5t by 4, the slope is maximum. Here slope is negative, here slope is positive, here slope means tangent, negative. Okay, so slope is maximum at t by 4, 3t by 4 and 5t by 4, where velocity is maximum. So acceleration is 0, that means force is 0. So force is 0 at 3t by 4 is the correct answer. Force is also 0 at t by 4 and 5t by 4, also 3t by 4. And acceleration is also 0 at t by 4, 3t by 4 and 5t by 4. Okay. Now, acceleration is maximum at t equal to capital T. Acceleration is maximum where velocity becomes 0. Acceleration is maximum where force becomes maximum. Force is equal to, F is equal to m omega square x. Force F is equal to m omega square x, and force is maximum, that is m omega square a. Okay, m omega square a, that means x max. This x max is called a. So when x is maximum, force is maximum. Where x is maximum, displacement is maximum. Displacement is maximum at the peak here. So at this point, and also at this point, these 3 points, that means here 0, 2t by 4 and t. 2t by 4 means t by 2. So time 0, t by 2 and t, the velocity is 0. Acceleration is maximum, force is maximum. So acceleration is maximum, t equal to capital T is also correct. It is not only at capital T, also 2t by 4 and 0. You can also watch the slope of the straight line graph. Slope, that means tangent at this point is flat, horizontal, its slope is 0. The tangent has 0 slope at each of these points. So A and B both true. A and B true present in 2 options. A and B true present in 2 options. Then again confused. Options are making lots of confusions. Okay. Otherwise it would have been simple. It takes more time. That's the problem. Speed is maximum at t by 4. Speed, that already I have told you. Speed is maximum at t by 4, 3t by 4 and 5t by 4. Then C is also correct. That is why A, B, C correct. All A, B, C, D correct option is not there. That is why you need not go for the option D, which must be a wrong one. Okay, how D is wrong? I will explain that more. Potential energy equal to kinetic energy. During simple harmonic oscillation, equation for potential energy can be expressed as sine square function, then kinetic energy as cos square function. As these two are equal, sine square omega t is equal to cos square omega t. Sine theta and cos theta are same for what angle? Angle 45. That means pi by 4. That means omega t is equal to pi by 4. So t is equal to pi by 4 omega, that is pi by 4 into omega is 2 pi by t, pi cancels and it must be t by 8, where kinetic energy and potential energy are equal. So kinetic energy is equal to potential energy at what time? Capital T by 8, not t by 2. That is why option D is incorrect. Anyway, all of you happy? A, B, C, all the 3 are correct. D is incorrect. Okay, move to the next one, 13. A small point mass carrying some positive charge on it released from the edge of a table. Another good one from electrostatics, second year topic. Interesting one, you can easily understand what is happening there. There is a uniform electric field in this region in the horizontal direction. Mentioned about uniform electric field. Which of the following options then correctly describe the trajectory of the mass? Okay, you know, when this particle having some positive charge is released in the presence of that uniform electric field directed towards right, it is acted upon by two forces. Students may make mistake there. There are two forces. What are the two forces? One is the electrostatic force, other is the gravitational force. Gravitational force is acting downward. mg is acting downward. So as soon as the particle is left, the particle is acted upon by two forces. One is mg and the other is qe. We know as the particle moves, whatever trajectory it may possess, qe does not change because E is uniform. mg also does not change because g is a constant. So these two constant forces will make some constant acceleration over that particle. If force is a constant, acceleration is a constant. And there is a net constant force which produces a constant net acceleration. So the net acceleration will be along what direction? It will be along this direction. Resultant. What is the net force here? Net force equal to square root of m square g square plus q square e square. So acceleration implies a constant and is directed at an angle theta with the horizontal downward. In this fourth quadrant, it will be, the particle will describe a straight line motion in the fourth quadrant. So the graph between y and x must be a straight line. So the answer must be the fourth option which is given here. Students may be confused between the parabolic graph there. Okay, parabolic graph. Because of the gravity, like a projectile, if it is projected, it follows a parabolic trajectory. So it may be a parabola is symmetric about, then there two parabolas are there. As it is two parabolas given, you may think, the student may think that any one of the parabola must be the correct answer, straight line, and is simply given. It's not right. Answer is the fourth one. Now the 14th one. An inductor coil of has a reactance of 100 ohm. Inductance coil has a reactance of 100 ohm. It is not reactance actually, it must be impedance. The question paper, it is not given correctly, it must be impedance. If it is reactance, it's taken as reactance and solved, you will not get answer from options. Anyway, you change that as impedance. So inductance coil has an impedance of 100 ohm. AC signal frequency 1000 Hz is applied to the coil. The phase angle between the supplied voltage and the circuit current is 45 degree. The self inductance of the coil is, we know from the impedance triangle. We have learned about the impedance triangle, and we know from the impedance triangle, this is the impedance, adjacent side becomes the resistance, and this will be the reactance side. Reactance means here only inductance is there, so inductive reactance, and tan phi from this impedance triangle, tan phi is equal to XL divided by R. As phi is equal to 45 degree, tan phi is equal to 1, so you get XL is equal to R. Therefore, the impedance Z is equal to root of XL square plus R square, that is Z is equal to the value of impedance is given as 100, then you get Z is equal to square root of 2XL square, because R is equal to XL. It's given R is equal to XL. So R square become XL square. So Z square is equal to 2XL square. That is why XL is equal to Z square divided by 2 whole roots, that XL will be. In the impedance is given as 100 ohm, so the value of XL must be 50 root 2. So the value is 50 root 2. Self-inductance of the coil can be found by using this equation. XL is equal to omega L, that is XL is equal to 2 pi FL, then L is equal to XL divided by 2 pi F, where F is mentioned here as 1000 Hz. Frequency is 1000. It is not omega, but frequency is 1000 hertz. Okay, you'll get the answer. You try the calculation part, you'll get the answer 1. Most of the calculations are little lengthy. You try and practice that calculations. We are mostly sticking on the concepts. Next one is 15th one. 15th one, a potentiometer. The question is asked from second year topic. It is from chapter current electricity. Every question papers are given with a question on potentiometer. Potentiometer is very important, particularly problem based on internal resistance. Here, potentiometer wire 1 meter length is connected to standard cell E1. Standard cell E1 is the primary cell or the auxiliary cell. Another cell E2 of EMF 1.02 that is connected in the secondary, and that is of internal resistance small r, and switch S. When switch S is open, null position is obtained at 49 centimeter. The switch S is open. When switch S is open, the null point, that means the balancing length for the cell E2, balancing length for the cell E2 is to be measured from the positive end of the wire to the jockey. Positive end of the wire is this one, jockey point is this one, but it is given that the distance 49 centimeter is measured from Q. That is to be noted. Distance from Q to J is 49 centimeter, then the rest of the distance must be 51. Students, the balancing length is not 49, but it is 51. Okay, now the next part is very simple. The basic principle of potentiometer: when a steady current is flowing through the potentiometer wire, the secondary EMF is equal to potential gradient into balancing length. Secondary EMF is E2 equal to potential gradient phi into balancing length. When a steady current flows through the potentiometer wire, secondary EMF is equal to potential gradient into balancing length. That is 1.02 is equal to potential gradient into balancing length is 51. You get phi. That is the answer. That is 0.02 volt per centimeter is the answer. 15th one. Now 16th. In Young's double slit experiment, 16 fringes are obtained in a segment of screen when light of wavelength 700 nanometer is used. If the wavelength of light is changed to 400 nanometer, the number of fringes observed in the same segment would be. Let me explain by using a diagram. You can make a note of this one. Here I have several fringes. Each of the bright and dark fringes are of same width. Each of the fringes are of same width. And let us color. Let the fringe be the central bright one, alternately bright and dark. Okay, so how many fringes are there? 1, 2, 3. 3.5 fringes are there. Okay, 3.5 fringes are there. Then what is the bandwidth or fringe width? Bandwidth or fringe width is measured as the distance between two neighboring bright bands. So this will be the bandwidth beta or fringe width. Okay. Therefore, the number of fringes observed in same segment of the screen, let this be the particular segment. This be the particular segment. When wavelength is changed, beta changes, because beta is equal to lambda capital D by small d. When lambda changes, beta also changes. When lambda is less, beta is less. When beta is less, in same segment you can consist more number of fringes. When lambda is more, beta is more. Beta more means the fringes become bulky, stout, so that you will contain lesser number of fringes in same length. Okay. If this length be written as y, and if there are n number of fringes, each fringes are of width beta. So you can use this equation, y is equal to n beta. So that y is equal to n lambda capital D by small d. Most of the papers we find this question. This is very important. Is old question, old one. Only some numerical changes. Very important one. That is y is a constant here. Y is a constant here. Now n is variable because lambda is variable. That is n1 lambda 1 is equal to n2 lambda 2. Students, when you get similar problems, you will not draw this, you will not write all these equations, you will know this equation and you will have only substitution. Within seconds you will come to the answer. n1 lambda 1, that is 16 into 700 is equal to n2 into 400. Then you get n2, try, you get answer 28. First option is the right answer. Okay. Then n2 is equal to 28. The students may make mistake. Sometimes the wavelength of light changes by 400 nanometer, decreases by 400 nanometer means it is 700 minus 400, then it should be 300. So this 400 replaced by 300. Sometimes the problems may come like that. Then the answer would be different. Okay, take care of that. Next one is 17. A plane electromagnetic wave, the directions of electric and magnetic fields are given as k cap. K cap is clearly mentioned, that is a unit vector. K cap is unit vector. That means along positive z axis. Now magnetic field 2y cap minus 2j cap, that is not a unit vector. That has some other magnitude, root of 2 square plus 2 square, that is 2 root 2 is the magnitude. But that vector itself represents the direction, that's all. What is the unit vector along the direction of propagation of the wave? You know, the vector associated with the direction of propagation of the electromagnetic, transverse electromagnetic wave is Ponting vector. Ponting vector carries all the intensity of the electromagnetic wave along the direction of propagation. Ponting vector is equal to 1 by mu 0 times E cross B. Okay, then we need to find the unit vector of this Ponting vector. Unit vector is equal to vector P divided by mode vector P. That is, vector P is 1 by mu 0 into E cross B. What is E cross B? E cross B is k cap cross 2i minus 2j. That is 2 into k cross I. K cross I, everybody knows ijk cycle. Ijk cycle. The changes are only permissible cyclically. Then what is k cross I? K cross I is equal to j. So it must be 2j. Now k cross j. What is k cross j? K cross j is minus I because it goes in reverse sense. See, only cyclic changes are positive, opposite changes should be negative. So k cross j is minus I, but also there is a minus sign, so it must be plus 2i. So 2i plus 2j is that. 2i plus 2j. So it must be 2i plus 2j divided by, what is its modulus? Modulus is what? Modulus of this one. 1 by mu 0 happens to be there as modulus. Then root of 2 square plus 2 square, that is 2 root 2. 1 by mu 0 cancels and is the answer. That is 2 by 2 cancels. 1 by root 2 I cap plus 1 by root 2 j cap is the answer. That is 1 by root 2 into I cap plus j cap. 1 by root 2 into I cap plus j cap, answer is the third option. Chapter 2nd year, electromagnetic waves. Next one, 18. A capillary tube made of glass. From first year, fluid mechanics, capillarity. Radius given, a beaker, methylene iodide is given, whose surface tension and density is given. It rises to height h in the capillary tube. It is observed that two tangents drawn from liquid gas interfaces from opposite sides of the capillary make an angle 60 degree with one another, then h is closed. The formula for capillarity, capillary rise, everybody knows the formula. If this is the capillary tube is of very narrow bore. Okay, the capillary ascent is shown here. H is the height, capillarity, H is equal to 2t cos theta divided by r rho g, where r is the radius of the tube. Then this direct substitution, H is close to, only direct substitution you may try. Surface tension T is mentioned there. This is the surface tension T. Radius R mentioned. Radius R in millimeter. Answer is in meter. Convert into meter. Then cos 60. Cos 60 is 1 by 2 theta 60. Theta is the angle of contact. Theta is the angle of contact. This is the angle of contact. Okay. Angle of contact theta is the angle between the surface two directions of these two interfacial surface tensions. This is the solid liquid surface tension direction. This is the liquid air interface surface tension. So solid liquid interfacial surface tension and liquid air interfacial surface tension give an angle theta. This one is the solid air interfacial surface tension. We have learned that from NCERT. Rho is the density that is also given. Okay, you will get the answer. The second option is the correct answer. 0.087 meter is the right answer. 18 to 1. Next one is 19. The figure shows a region of length L with uniform magnetic field 0.3 Tesla. A proton enters into this region with velocity 4 into 10 power 5 meter per second, making an angle 60 degree with the field. If the proton completes 10 revolutions by the time it crosses the region, what is the length? Okay, it is so surprising that in the morning shift also this same question was asked, but the second part was not there. If the proton completes 10 revolutions, that part was not there. Okay, same question was asked in the morning session also. Repeatedly questions are asked with slight modifications. Here we know in external uniform magnetic field, in external uniform magnetic field, external uniform magnetic field, when a charge, proton is a positive charge, when a proton is entering, it's external uniform magnetic field, the proton is entering along this line. Okay, proton is entering along this line. Now this is the velocity v. It makes an angle theta. Resolving the velocity into two components. This one is v cos theta and the other upward component. Upward component is nothing but v sin theta. Okay, the particle will describe a what path? Particle describes a helical path like this. Okay, and we know the pitch of the helix. Pitch of the helical path is equal to 2 pi m v cos theta divided by qb is the equation for the pitch of the helical path. So pitch of the helical path is 2 pi m v cos theta by qb. Okay, is the pitch means the distance traveled by that proton when it makes one rotation in this magnetic field. Okay, when it enters like this, it describes one rotation. During when it makes one rotation, it travels certain distances. That distance measured along the direction of movement is called the pitch of the helix. Pitch of the helical path is 2 pi m v cos theta by qb. But what is L? L is the width of this magnetic field. Magnetic field is only this much. Then it defines several turns. Then pitch is the distance between two consecutive turns. Then it is given that it completes 10 revolutions. That means you just multiplied this pitch by 10 to get the answer. So L is equal to pitch multiplied by 10. This is very important. Okay, in the morning session only this part was asked, pitch only was asked. Here L is asked because the number of rotations of the particle also mentioned. Okay. Anyway, you may hope that you will try. The calculation is little bit lengthy, but every parameters are given. Angle theta is 60, cos 60 is 1 by 2, all that mentioned. No need of any sign conversions also. 0.3 Tesla is the magnetic field B. Okay, you try, definitely you try and get the answer. Answer is option D. The next one is 20. The height h at which weight of a body will be same as that at the same depth h from the surface of earth. we know the equation for acceleration due to gravity at a depth h. The equation for acceleration due to gravity at a depth h is g into 1 minus h by r. At the same time, the value of acceleration due to gravity at a height h is g into r divided by r plus h whole square, that is r square by r plus h whole square. Here I am not using this another similar equation 1 minus 2h by r. I am not using, because that is only an approximate one. This equation is an exact solution to value of g at depth. This is another exact solution. It is not approximate. So these two are to be used here. Okay, you never use the other one minus 2h by r to the right side. Okay, that is so popular one. This is the equation which is more exact. Now g cancels there. We have to get h by solving this. That's how to solve it. See, r minus h by r is equal to r square by, this one can be written r square plus h square plus 2rh, that is r minus h into r square plus h square plus 2rh is equal to r cube. So the left side you distribute, this will become r cube, then r h square, then 2r square h minus r square h minus h raised to minus h raised to 3 minus 2r h square is equal to r cube. You can cancel r cube from both sides. Okay, and r h square here, r h square here, minus 2r h square, that means minus r h square. Solved 2r square h, and here minus r square h, you get plus r square h. Okay, minus h cube, this much, is equal to 0 because r cube cancels from both sides. From this, minus rh plus r square minus h square equal to 0, eliminating 1h, and this is a quadratic equation in h. Okay, it is a quadratic equation. It is of the form ax square plus bx plus c. You find the value of h by using minus b plus or minus b square minus 4ac by 2a. Okay, that solution will lead to this answer. Okay, you try. H is equal to minus b, that is minus b. H means h is equal to minus b, means minus of minus r plus or minus square root of b square, that is r square, minus 4ac. 4 a is 1, c is minus 1, that minus of minus becomes plus, all divided by 2 happens. So there it will be 4r square, it will be 4r square. So 5r square, root 5r, then answer comes as first one, and another one confusing one is there in the fourth option. That will not be the correct answer because 2 only appears in the first part. Next one is 21st one. 21st one is the first integer type question. A square shaped hole of side L equal to a by 2 carved out at a distance d equal to a by 2 from center O of uniform circular disc of radius a. It is mentioned, everything mentioned in the picture. If the distance of the center of mass of the remaining portion is minus a by x, then what is the value of x? Okay, here you can use the center of mass frame of reference. In center of mass frame of reference, the center of mass of the system is at the origin and O is at the origin, and this one is of mass m1, the removed one is of mass m1, and this distance from old center of mass to center of mass of the removed one, dr1. Then the remaining portion, that means the gray colored one, gray colored disk is the removed portion, remaining portion. That center of mass will be shifted towards left. Okay, here let this be C, and this distance is R2. This distance is R2. So O happens to be the center of mass. That means O is the origin, and that happens to be the center of mass of the new coordinate system. You can write like this: M1 R1 is equal to minus M2 R2. Why minus? Because M1 is to the right of the point O, M2 is to the left of the point O. M1 is the mass of the removed square plate, and M2 is the mass of the remaining portion. Okay, then also it is a disk. Disk has mass per unit area constant. That means for a disk, mass is proportional to area. Mass is proportional to area. Area proportional to r square for a disk and side square for a square plate. So mass proportional to area. Mass is directly proportional to area. That means mass per unit area is a constant. So what is M1 here? M1 is equal to mass per unit area. Let mass per unit area be sigma. M1 is equal to mass per unit area into area of that. What is the area of the square plate? That is A by 2 is the side whole square. Similarly, what is M2? Mass per unit area. Mass per unit area is a constant. That is why mass per unit area into area of the remaining portion. M2 is the mass of the remaining gray colored portion. M2 is the mass of the remaining portion. Then what is the area of that? Total area was pi a square. Total area was pi a square. From that area pi a square, you can subtract a by 2 whole square. Now you substitute here. What is M1? Sigma into a by 2 whole square into R1. What is R1? R1 is given as the value of R1 is given D. D is given here a by 2 in the question. D is equal to a by 2. That is equal to minus of M2 is sigma into pi a square minus a square by 4 into R2. What is R2? R2 is asked. R2 is the distance from O to the point C, that is asked. Okay, you can cancel sigma from both sides, you can cancel a square from both sides, and a will come in the left side. Okay, and you will get the answer. R2 is equal to minus 23 divided by minus a divided by 23, where x is equal to 23.00. So answer will be 23.00. You can try the calculation part. Next one is 22nd. 22nd is from ray optics. Light ray enters a solid glass sphere of refractive index √3 at an angle of incidence 60 degree. There is a glass sphere. Light ray enters at some angle 60 degree. Okay, and this be the normal at the point of incidence, and this is the center, and this angle is given as 60 degree. The refractive index mu of the glass sphere is given as √3. Okay, light is entering like this. As it enters from rarer to denser, it bends towards the normal. So as it bends towards the normal, it bends like this. Okay, now let us draw the normal at the point of incidence like this. Now the light ray is going from denser to rarer, bends away from the normal. So this will be the relevant ray diagram. Okay, then this angle is 60, this refractive index is √3. Here refractive index is 1 because air. One medium, refractive index and angle known. Other medium, refractive index is known. Then you can find that angle by using Snell's law. This angle, Snell's law, that is 1 into sine 60 equal to root 3 into sine theta. This is the method to apply Snell's law. Snell's law. We apply Snell's law. N1 sin theta 1 equal to N2 sin theta 2. That's all. That is sin 60 is root 3 by 2. So root 3 and root 3 cancels. Sin theta 1 by 2, that means theta is equal to 30 degree. So this is 30 degree. As this angle is 30, this angle also must be 30 because this is the radius. These two are radii. This dotted line means normal. Normal passes through center of curvature. And this angle is 30. This is also 30. Okay. Now, if this is 60, this is 30. So this is 30, this is again 60. Why? Due to this same Snell's law. Here refractive index 1, here also refractive index 1. Then here the angle should be 60 for satisfying the principle of reversibility. This ray, if comes back, it goes like this. Another ray, you touched the light, from here it goes the same path. Okay. Now this angle is 60 degree. Okay. Now what is the angle between the reflected ray and refracted ray at the second surface? That means there are partial reflections occurring here. Here light ray partially gets reflected back. When any surface is undergoing a reflection, that means that angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. Here angle of incidence is 30, then angle of reflection is also 30. Then what is this angle? See, this is a straight line. This much is 60, this much is 30. So 60 plus 30 is 90. So to fill 180, this must be 90 degrees. So the answer must be 90.00 is the answer. 90 degree. That means 90.00 is to be the correct answer mark. It's very important one, but simple one from geometrical optics. We have used Snell's law, and the similar problems you may take and practice. Next one, 23rd one. Particle of mass m is moving along x-axis with initial velocity u I cap. It collides elastically with a particle of mass 10m at rest, and it moves with half its initial velocity. Initial kinetic energy. Sin theta 1 equal to root 10 sin theta 2, then the value of n is. Okay, let me explain it like this. We have a body of mass m. We have a body of mass m moving with velocity like this. It undergoes a collision with another body of mass 10m situated here somewhere. After collision, both the bodies are moving along two different directions like this. Okay, this body of mass m reaches here, this body of mass 10m reaches here, the body of mass 10m, this is m, this is 10m, this velocity is u1. Okay, and given that this angle is theta 1 and this angle is theta 2, this is u I cap, that is given u I cap. Okay, okay, let it be u1, and this will be v1 because that angle given in the question paper of theta 1. Let this velocity be v2. Okay, v1 and v2 are vectors. This is u1 I cap, that is along x-axis. Second body was at rest. It is given. It collides with elastically with the particle at rest. Okay, kinetic energy of the first particle after the collision is half the initial kinetic energy. That means if kinetic energy is halved, velocity has become 1 by root 2. That means velocity of the, that is the first inference from the question, that is velocity of the first particle after the collision is over is u1 divided by root 2. That is mentioned in this question itself. If kinetic energy is halved, velocity has become 1 by root 2. Okay, if kinetic energy has become 1/4, velocity has become half. Here velocity is 1 by root 2 times. So v1 we got. Okay. Similarly, we have to get V2. Okay, for finding V2, we have to use kinetic energy conservation. For finding V2, we have to use kinetic energy conservation. For elastic collision, kinetic energy is conserved. Mention that collision is elastic. Total kinetic energy before collision equal to total kinetic energy after collision. What is total kinetic energy before collision? Half m into u1 square plus 0 equal to half into m into v1 square. v1 is u1 by root 2, so that u1 square by 2. v1 is u1 by 2, so v1 square is equal to u1 square by 2. So I am writing u1 square by 2 here, plus half into mass of the second body is 10m into v2 square. From this you can find out v2. You cancel half from all the terms, m from all the terms, that is u1 square by 2. This u1 square by 2 comes to the left, becoming u1 square minus u1 square by 2 becomes u1 square by 2 equal to 10 times v2 square. That is v2 square is equal to u1 square by 20. That means v2 is equal to u1 divided by root 20. So we got the values of v1 and v2 after the collision. Each of these particle moves with velocities v1 and v2. Okay, but still we are not getting any hint to the answer, any clue to the answer. But the other part of the question, that is sin theta 1 is equal to root 10 times sin theta 2, where n is. So sin theta 1 and sin theta 2, how do you get the relation between sin theta? For that, we resolve the momentum, we resolve the velocity or momentum after the collision. What is the momentum in the vertical direction? That is m v1 sin theta 1. m v1 sin theta 1. That is m v1 sin theta 1 is the component of momentum in the upward direction. Okay. Also, the mass 10m also has a component of momentum in the downward direction. These two momentums are to be equal for conserving momentum. Vertical momenta are to be balanced, because initially the particle do not have a vertical momentum. Finally also the vertical momentum of each of the particles should be vector summed to 0. That means mv1 sin theta 1 must be equal to 10m v2 sin theta 2. Now you substitute for v1 and v2, then you get the answer. M cancels from both sides. v1 is u1 divided by root 20. Sorry, v1 equal to u1 divided by root 2 sin theta 1 equal to 10 times v2 is given u1 by root 20, u1 by root 20 into sin theta 2. Here u1 cancels from both sides. Here sin theta 1 is equal to root 2, root 20 comes there, then root 10 comes there. So n will be given by root 10 is equal to root 10. That comparing these two equations, you get root 10 is equal to root 10, where n is equal to 10. So the answer is n is equal to 10.00. Okay, numerical questions are little difficult numerically. Okay, that is why called numerical. 24th one. A wire of density given, stretched between two clamps 1 meter apart, resulting strain in the wire given, lowest frequency of the transverse vibrations in wire given. That means fundamental frequency in stretched string. Equation for fundamental frequency in stretched string is 1 by 2L root of T by mu. Root of T by mu can be also written as root of stress by density. Okay. So this also can be another formula for frequency. That is 1 by 2L into root of stress and strain. Strain is given, stress is not given. So stress by strain is equal to Young's modulus. So stress is equal to Young's modulus multiplied by strain divided by density. that is nu1 is equal to 1 by 2 into length is 1, square root of Young's modulus is given 9 into 10 power 10 into strain is given 4.9 into 10 power minus 4 divided by density also given 9 into 10 power density is very important. Density here given 9 into 10 power minus 3 kilogram per centimeter cube. Okay, let me write it there. Density is equal to 9 into 10 power minus 3 kilogram per centimeter cube. This centimeter cube is to be converted into meter cube. So 10 power minus 6 should come in the denominator, becoming 10 to the power plus 6 in the numerator, so that it becomes 9 into 10 power 3. So you substitute 9 into 10 power 3 here. That is very important. That is kilogram per centimeter cube. We need per meter cube. Okay, answer needed in SI system. Okay, and he can you can try the answer here and you get the answer nu1 as 35.00. Answer will be 35.00. It's very clear. This 9 cancels here. 49 comes, root of 49 becomes 7. And after all these calculations, you get 70. 70 by 2 is 35. Okay, calculation is simple. Next one is 25. Last one, integer. Ideal cell of EMF 10 volt is connected in circuit as shown in figure. Each resistance 2 ohm, potential difference in volt across the capacitor. We know after the capacitor is getting fully charged, the capacitor branch will not contain any current. Okay, then voltage across capacitor will be the voltage across capacitor is equal to voltage across AB plus voltage across BC. Okay, because the terminals are connected to, terminals of capacitor is connected to A and C. It's very important. Terminals of capacitor is connected to A and C. Therefore, VAC equal to VAB plus VBC, and that will be VC. Capacitor voltage is equal to voltage sum of these two resistors R2 and R4. Okay, then let me redraw that like this. This is that circuit which is drawn like this. Here 10 volt battery connected like this. It is 10 volt, 2 ohm, 2 ohm, 2 ohm, 2 ohm. Now what is the equivalent resistance? These two ohms are in series. So 2 plus 2, 4, 4 and 2 parallel, 4 and 2 parallel, 4 into 2 by 4 plus 2, that is 8 by 6, that is 4 by 3. So 4 by 3 plus this is in series 2, that means 10 divided by 3 ohm is the equivalent resistance. So the total current I is equal to 10 by 3, that is equal to 3 ampere is the total current delivered by the cell. So the current here is 3 ampere, on reaching here current divides. Okay, here current is again 3 ampere, here also current is 3 ampere, but here to here current divides. Here resistance is 4 ohm, here only 2 ohm, so current divides into 1:2 ratio. Here the current resistance is only 2 ohm, so the current is 2 ampere, here current is 1 ampere. Why? This 3 ampere is divided into inverse ratio of resistances in that branches. Here resistance 4, here only half. Okay, so 2 plus 1, 3. Kirchhoff's junction rule is satisfied. So 2 ohm, 2 ampere and 1 ampere. So what is the voltage across this? Here the terminal is named A, this terminal is B and this terminal is C. What is the voltage across AB? VAB is equal to 1 into 2, that is 2 volt. Similarly, VBC equal to 3 into 2, that is 6. Students, how do you get it? The current from A to B is 1 ampere. This current itself is flowing. So 1 into 2 ohms law. This 2 volt. So here 2 volt and here 6 volt. So what is the total potential difference between the terminals A and C? That is 2 plus 6, that is 8 volt. So answer must be 8.00 volt is the answer. 08.00. Answer is 08.00. Then the voltage across the capacitor is the potential difference across the terminals A and C in steady state. When steady state is reached, the current through capacitor branch will be 0. Therefore, the potential difference across capacitor will be the potential difference across that terminals where the capacitor branch is connected. Not only the capacitor connected, but capacitor branch is connected. It's significant that this resistance is not included while calculating equivalent resistance, but because it does not carry any current in steady state. Okay, with that, today's discussion is over. We have discussed today GMAIN 2020 September 2nd evening paper, physics paper. I am Pradeep sir. Goodbye.